Hello, welcome to a brand new episode of Brain Pickings Excel, the special edition of our popular podcast for HR professionals, entrepreneurs, and leaders. My name is Leslie, founder of ZigZagHR, which is a community of HR professionals. And every month we dive into a specific topic. And this month it's all about HR tech and digitalization. Every day, during a whole month, I will take a deep dive into the brains of HR experts, thought leaders, and challengers, picking ideas, insights, best and next practices to inspire you and to support you in staying ahead of the curve. And special editions, well, they ask for special places, and that's why I'm hosting this podcast in Times More, a very inspirational hotspot in Brussels. And Christel Iris de Prins, well, she's the founder of this hidden gem, and she really understands what hospitality is all about. This podcast is brought to you in collaboration with SAP. Originally known for leadership in enterprise resource planning software, SAP has evolved to become a market leader in end-to-end enterprise application software, database, analytics, intelligent technologies, and experience management. And the topic that we will tackle in this podcast is employee experience. How to win the war for talent by giving your workforce the workspace they want, the tools they need, and the culture they can celebrate. Instead of thinking of a traditional employee life cycle, future-proof organizations understand that it's more valuable and more effective to think of moments that matter and moments of impact. And today I have two guests. I have Jan van Acoleyen, Chief HR Officer, and Valérie Vermeire, Performance, Reward, and HR Technology. I'm looking very forward to getting inside of their head and to learn a lot, hopefully, about employee experience. Welcome, Valérie, Jan.
Hello.
Hello. Everything okay with both of you?
Perfect. I guess so.
Yeah, it's a very sunny day, so that makes half of the day really great, huh? Maybe to start, can you tell us how an average day at work at Proximus for both of you? How does it look like?
I guess Valérie can start.
Mm-hmm. So in today's days, an average day starts with a Microsoft Teams around best days 8:30 and it ends almost at 7. So that's a special time I'm personally working fully digital and remote from home. So
okay, yeah, all right.
So I still have the occasion to switch into the towers 1 to 2 days a week. So at least I have.
You're privileged.
I'm really privileged, but I try to reduce it to a minimum to be in line with the overall policies.
Yeah, so. Of course. Okay. And does an average work day exist, or an average work week? Does that exist at the moment?
I think from a content perspective, for sure not. But from a technology perspective, I think every day looks the same. Yeah. There is a digital screen in front of you. And that's it, I would say. So we really lack the spirit of collaboration, the spirit of being together in a team and a physical way of belonging to a team.
Okay, yeah, I can relate to that. Now, in the last 200 years, employers have shifted their focus a few times with regard to employees. You had the first industrial revolution. It was all about getting the job done, utility. Then you had the second industrial revolution, focus shifted towards productivity. What do people need to get the job done in the most efficient way? Now then the third industrial revolution was all about engagement. How do we get people to become more engaged so productivity will increase? And today we've entered this industrial revolution, the fourth industrial revolution, where it's all about experiences. People crave experiences. So the goal is now to create the ultimate experience for our workforce, so they want to show up and make a contribution. What is employee experience to Proximus? How would you define it, and why is it so important for Proximus?
First of all, I think, let me allow to correct a bit. I think utility might have been fading away, and hopefully it's faded away in our Western labor markets. But I think productivity and engagement still matter.
Still matters.
And I think employee experience comes on top of that. And for me, employee experience is really about something which you, as an employees, together with an organization, create in terms of a unique authentic type of experience, which makes it really different to be there, to be an employee of that company, and which finally ignite some, I would say, motivation, inspiration, which transpires finally in a common shared sense of belonging, but also in productivity on an individual team of organizational level. And I think reflecting on the word employee experience, I think you cannot reflect on it without seeing in the context of today. I think we live in a context where people thrive on experiences, where consumers want to have that experience, where individuals want to stand out because they have different experiences than others. And I think you have to see it also in that context where also technologies are available to create those experiences on an individual level without costing too much. And I think if it would have not been in that context, the word employee experience would have been maybe less used. We talk also a lot about customer experiences. Yeah. So
everything is an experience. It's a brand experience, a customer. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, okay. But indeed, it's not that productivity or engagement is not important anymore. It's kind of an extra layer that is put on top of it. It has become important as well on top of the other things. Okay, I understand. All right, so then talking about employee experience, actually there are three components. You have the physical environment, which comprises for 30% of the overall experience, talking about the towers, the headquarters, but also home office and other hubs. Then you have the technical environment, everything that has to do with technology. And then the third is cultural environment, which is less tangible, but is very important indeed. Now, according to Jacob Morgan, organizations fall along 9 levels of maturity, going from completely inexperienced in all 3 of these segments to experienced in 1 or more of those 3 segments. Now, what component does Proximus focus on? Is there one specific that you say, well, this is the main one for us? Or are they all equally important to you?
Yeah, I'll pass the word to Valérie.
I think that over the last years, we have been working on the 3.
Okay.
So looking at the physical, we started with open space, then deploying collaborative space, allowing project team to better work together. Certainly in the agile world, we will go a step further and probably will comment on our campus project. Technology also is key as an enabler to make that happen. Yeah. And we saw it recently by deploying additional collaborative tools. Certainly in the COVID world, you need the best technology in order to empower people so that they can work together. And on the sides of culture, I think over the last 7 or 8 years, we have done a lot to embed a strong culture inside Proximus, building on our core values, which are accountability, agility, and collaboration, and certainly also growth mindset. What we did is actually embedding this in all our HR program and leadership approach and learning tracks.
So, well, I think I cannot add a lot of that, but I think from an employee experience, I think it's very hard to tell if you overemphasize or prioritize one of the 3. I think all 3 are an interplay to make sure that you create an employee experience, because I think technology is there to enable you to make it work in a, I would say, cost-efficient way, but also in a digital world. And I think in the outside world, people interact more and more digitally. Yeah. So they want to have that the same experience mirrored in the company in one another. On the physical surroundings, I think when we started working on the culture, we already started with remodeling our offices, where we have spaces where you can concentrate, spaces where you can collaborate, which are more creative rooms, also in the view of agile teams, stand-up meetings, all those things to enable. And then I think, you touched on culture. I think culture is somewhere intangible, but one way or another, you want to make it tangible. And I think making it tangible has to do with the tone of voice. What type of conversations do you engage in? What do you value in a recruiting? What do you value in a performance discussion? What do you value across every experience, I think, because culture is for me the way we work together and the way we serve our customers. It's not about paintings on the wall or words on the wall. It's something which becomes touchable in the way you interact with each other.
The way we do things here. I had one of the guests, and during the conversation before we started the podcast, she said, and I found it very interesting. She said, well, you can see what the culture is like in any kind of place if you go to the kitchen, and then you see how are the glasses put there. Is everybody putting the glasses in the dishwasher? If the dishwasher is full, will they make sure that everything is out, and will they clean up? And I think that's a really nice example because it's not tangible, but you can see it. If there's something dropped on the floor, everybody who will pass will take that little piece of paper away. I think that's really a great way to describe how the culture is in a company. Okay. So now, did changing expectations of your current workforce make you step up the gear in one or more components?
I think they do. I think I touched on collaboration. I think if you look at the modern organization or the way people want to work, while they have at one hand a tendency for individualism, on the other hand, a lot is in co-creation, in collaboration.
It's a real paradox. Huh?
So that is really, I think, one of the expectations people have. They want to engage, they want to be part of a team. I think the second thing is really in this COVID world, that digital or emphasis on digital interactions is even accelerated, I would say, and the need for having that technology available to interact with others, to interact with the company, to find easily information, which is no longer hidden in a closet, but transparent and accessible to a lot of people. So technology we touched on. I think going forward, with the experience we have on remodeling the office, it's clear that people expect something different from an office space. They expect also not to needing to be there every day. That's also very clear. And I think, and we're lucky there, I think, and I think the pandemic, and I hesitate in stating it, helped us in restating also a bit the sense of purpose of the company. Because over the last years, people talked about telecom more like it's expensive, so it's a commodity, I should pay less. I think in these days, our sense of purpose, which is about making people live better and working smarter, nobody doubts anymore about it. And I think it's also something which is important for the employees and which we see reflected in the engagement, which is going up also on that part of the equation.
Okay. Now I would like to discuss also the business value of employee experience. Why bother investing in employee experience? Does it make your workforce more productive, more engaged? Does it improve innovation? Does it have impact on employee turnover? And do you measure this? Which data do you use for that?
So actually, we have a yearly, but now bi-yearly extensive employment survey. And we measure a lot of dimensions that do contribute to employee engagement.
Yes.
And based on this, all along the company and also at corporate level, we define what are the focus points for the years to come. And this is regularly tracked at the different management level. Now, having really a business case, how do you measure individual contribution of someone? But definitely, we have data around employee promoter scores, how they feel proud to work for our company, in data around their development, their coaching and feedback, their relation to their management. And we tend to see the trend going into the right direction. So this is sustaining the engagement, motivation, and normally contributing to better results.
That's nice to
hear. But I think, Valérie, going forward, I think we have a challenge in making the ROI even clearer. And I think with the new technology, it will be more possible, I think, to do measurements in the moment of the experiences
in
of
real
people.
Time.
And I think we use Qualtrics on the outside for the customer experience and the customer journeys and their touch points. And our intention is really to use that at the internal side also. And we have a few first trials, I would say, in terms of defining journeys of employees and which kind of the moments do really matter. And I think we should try to measure in the moment of that experience if the things we do, where we invest in, really matter and bring the value. But if you look at the outside world, let's say there are some studies who clearly demonstrate that over the last 10 years, if companies would have shown interest in employee experience, that their sales, discretionary effort of people in the company, and also profitability is higher compared to other companies who apparently invest less in that focus.
Yeah. Okay. Now, what is, if we talk about employee experience, specific the role of HR?
Yeah. If you allow me, Valérie, I'll take that one. I think, first of all, for me, I think the role is building the case for employee experience, making sure that the rest of the company buys into that story, that employee experience matters, because I'm convinced that employee experience is not something you bring alone as an HR team. It's really a combination of efforts from a lot of people, a lot of teams, a lot of functions in an organization. So first, building the case and getting the rest of the team on board. And the rest of the team on board because it's a holistic journey you have to go through. I think a second role for me in the HR team is, once you are aligned, then there is a plan to be made and a plan to be coordinated. So making that plan, and we learned meanwhile that you need a plan. Because without a plan and cutting it into small pieces, you don't get anywhere, I think. And I think we have also a challenge inside the HR teams because we come from a world where HR teams are focused on sometimes fair, efficient, clear and lean HR process. And I think in today's world, these processes are more one size fits all rather than I give you or offer you an individual experience. So like marketeers are obsessed by the customer, I think we need to be more and more obsessed not by HR processes, but by the employee experience. And that's also a huge challenge is to change. And there is a lot of enthusiasm to go along with in that mindset. But on the other hand, it does not mean that you go back to the individual service experience of I give you an answer. It's really redefining how you get to that experience together with others. So the journey, the story, I think, and the coordination, the plan, and then thirdly, getting the right mindset in place, not only in the HR team, but broader.
Overall. Okay. So now how does technology influence the employee experience strategy? I guess it improves it, but what difficulties are you maybe currently experiencing?
Should I take that?
Yeah.
We have a little discussion who should take this question.
He loves technology.
Okay.
I think, first of all, technology is, for me, really an opportunity in this one. But on the other hand, also a very seducing lady or man in the room, I would say. Because you can get lost in technology. And so I think you really have to start with employee journeys, defining those, also making sure that you then try to measure and find out, and that you do with the people, and you can talk about personas or whatever, because you cannot serve 10,000 employees as an individual, so you have to segment somewhere. And then I think if you have defined those journeys and those touch points, then it's the moment to go to technology and to see what kind of technology enables you to get there. But in order to do that, I think the tougher thing is also data. And what do you do with data to individualize? So first priority, I think, on the technology side is making sure you have data, and not only HR data, but also business data. Second is then choose technology, but choose technology that enables you to make that touch point really a wow moment. And then there is the ultimate question, do you go for one overall solution or do you go for a hybrid world? But there is much more possible than before, and that's the exciting part of technology. I think
absolutely
it allows you today in a more cost-efficient way to create an individual consumer-like experience.
Okay. Do you have something to add, or did he do a great job with that, Valérie?
Did a great job.
He did a great job.
Thank you.
Okay. Now, what we like to do with ZigZagHR is to share best and next practices, of course. So do you have a best or a next practice to share that you're very, very proud of?
Very proud. I don't know yet, because it's a journey.
It's ongoing.
But I think that before we were a lot talking about employee experience, but we were not really focused, and we dispersed our efforts. What we have done recently is that we have put employee experience really at the center of the strategy of HR, and also engaging with our HR colleagues to bring that very high on the agenda. This is clearly setting the ambition. Actually, we then started to roll out some project and a lot communicating inside HR about what we were doing in order to improve employee experience. But we started small and a bit sliced the elephant, if I may say so. A big lessons learned so far is certainly try to put a lot of effort also on change in communication. As Jan said, you can't serve 10,000 employees individually, so we need to segment, and we need to choose our battle. And in that journey, what we try to do is to keep the human touch where it's going to make the difference.
Yes.
Because this is certainly something we put also on our agenda.
Okay, so do you maybe to wrap this podcast up, some major takeaways, major insights that you want to share, some valuable failures maybe that others can learn from?
For sure.
I would say that we start to see something when we have a plan. If you don't have a plan, if you don't have a focus on that, which is shared inside HR and even beyond, because employee experience goes beyond HR. It's the experience that an employee has with IT tools, with fleet. It's really cross-functional. But the key is having a plan and a methodology and stick to it and accept it's going to take years to make it happen. That's
to have patience.
No, but I think real failure is when you say, well, let's buy, by example, we want to have a great onboarding experience, buy an onboarding app. And just launch it. Not going to work. Really not going to work. So we made that mistake for all clarity. And we made similar mistakes on other type of functionalities or apps. But I think now I think we are getting to learn it in terms of methodology. We took 2 journeys, by example, is can you give people a better learning experience? How can you make it more self-steered, self-directed, slice it up, really look when people stop in a digital learning, why they step it out, and try to improve then based on those touch points. The same on mobility. How can you create kind of a mobility app, a personal, individualized experience that you need data for? You need to understand the mobility patterns of people. And I think what for me is also a very powerful one and also indicating that it's not only about productivity, technology. So we looked also at what are the important life cycle moments of people when they get married, when they have a child, and somebody dies in the family. How can we make sure that experience is in line with what we consider our values? And how can we then interact in a personal way rather than send this letter or this certificate to that digital address, by example. So I'm optimistic, but it's still a lot of work, I think.
Yeah. Thank God that it's still a lot of work, because otherwise we would be bored, I guess. But I don't think that's an issue at Proximus, if I remember talking to you before we started this podcast. Well, unless you have some final message that you want to share, I think this is a great way to wrap this podcast up. So I really would like to thank you both for letting me get inside of your head. I hope it didn't hurt too much.
I'll see if it's empty or not.
Okay, all right. Thank you very much for watching and for listening. This was yet another episode of our ZigZagHR podcast in collaboration with SAP. So be sure, if you want to learn more about employee experience, to tune in again, because there's a lot more to discover. And of course, the most important lesson that you should never, ever, ever forget: it's a great time to be in HR. See you next time.